As you've heard, my name is Simon Kimutai, born and bred in Kericho, to a white settler whom I never met, and a Kipsigis lady from Litein. She must have been very pretty for to win the soul of this gentleman who made me be born when he was 60 years old. So you can imagine. Well, that aside, that qualifies me to be a resident of Kericho and a person belonging to Kericho. I have so much to tell you, which is not from reading, it is through experience. I was born in this town, Kericho, and I went to school in the village. I tell people I went to school with no shoes. Not putting on shoes, they don't believe, but I have pictures to prove the same. And we wore shoes when we go to Form 1. I remember when I bought the shoes, I was smiling, when you put on shoes and you start walking, you feel a bit shy, those feelings. And most people don't believe. I've preserved these pictures, especially when my children were growing, for them to understand the journey from being a village boy in Kavlukiat village in Kabianga to where we are. So I'm supposed to give you a talk on entrepreneurship. Maybe I should give you a bit of my life history in a journey of business. And so that now I can now take you through issues in business. Business, entrepreneurship is at any level. That's why we have SMEs, small medium enterprise. I will get to that. And I know most people do not know that I was in the military. I joined the military when I was 18 years old, immediately after school. I think I must have been the first person to get a job amongst my schoolmates. I don't know where Koros went after that, because I got my results. Instead of reporting to a high school, I'd been admitted to Form 5th and 6th form. There was recruitment in Kericho. And I presented myself. So I joined Kenya Air Force in 1980. 1980 should have been March. That's almost when the results are out. And I was 19 then. I joined the military, and it was a very good experience on issues, especially on discipline and etiquette. And in the military, the first thing that you're taught is to call somebody yes sir, and you stand properly when you're responding to your seniors. So that's a big achievement on issues discipline. And I was trained in Lanet, the basic military training I went through. And when I came out from the Lanet, I went for another training, a trade training. And I was attached to F5 squadron on issues, something called EMO, equipment management. We were converting ourselves from British system to American system. We did that. I got proper training. And equipment management includes procurement of this aircraft. The F5, you see those sharp, the ones now the Israeli is using against Hamas. If you've been able to watch what's happening in the Middle East. Now, and I finished that, and, I was posted to Nanyuki. I worked in Nanyuki, and then the coup came. How many of you remember 1982 coup?
Yeah.
The coup came, we didn't know what was happening. But by virtue of being a military person, you have to get armed, because there are pronouncements that the government has been taken over by the military. Little did we know that it was a small section of ourselves in the Air Force who brought this. And the unfortunate bit is that the person who hatched this, we were sharing the same office. His name was Pankras Oteo Okumu. But Chuka was just because he was the Airmen's Club president. So it was easy to sell Chuka. But the father of the coup was Pankras Oteo. They were both hanged at the same time. Coup came and we were crushed. Yeah? We were really crushed by the army. And the reason being, we had big difference between army and Air Force. Air Force, we were being trained abroad. So when you go abroad, you come back driving, because you earn the salary of those who are there. And so the army thought we were being favored. But of course, definitely, in the Air Force, the people who had gone to school, very smart people. Then there we are. We were crushed, and we were jailed. Mass jailing. Simon Kimutai was jailed for 12 years. 12 years, and I was 22 years old. So every time I would calculate, when do I come out when I'm 35? At that time, I'm surprised, who talked of 35? I was thinking I would be dead by 35. Now when I look at myself, you say you're 35 now, and I'm 64. I say, well, you're a young person. By that time, the head works that way. To cut the story short, I served 4 years in prison. And I came out in 1986. 86, I didn't know Moi was still in power, and I was the first Kalenjin to be jailed, and everybody was seeing me as a traitor, as a person who's trying to overthrow their government. So I decided I was not going to look for a job. I decided I was going to go back to school. My mother was a nurse. In the 50s, the time I came out, she was still a nurse. And her good name was Chepkurga. Now challenges were, there's no money. How do you go to school? She gave me a bull, which was home. Sell it and go to school. Because actually, when I came back home, I couldn't believe the environment. People my age were drinking heavily. They didn't care about themselves. And of course there was that people looking at you suspiciously. That So I want to know that the time I left committee, I slept in Nairobi in a cousin's place. I drafted a letter asking for to do the course I wanted to do with the Institute of Purchasing and Supplies, a diploma course. And I came home, got the money, went, and I asked somebody there's somebody called John Langat from my village who was working in post office, and he'd been given a 3-bedroom. I asked him whether I could live with him. He gave me a bedroom. So I went to school. Now at times it was challenging to get bus fare, We would, Kenya bus was the main, I would, wait when I see a bus that's so full, I hold and then be at the door. I don't, when the conductor says, hey, okay, wait, kisimama gari the specific mfuko. Kisimama, mimi naendelea na mguu. So, it was survival for the fittest. All in all, while in prison, I was a carpenter, and a very good carpenter. I was a designer. I would design and make. So now it became a challenge. I had an elder brother who was, I think you remember him, Charles, and he was working in a bank, and I'd already earned my salary, so it's so difficult to beg. So I was going to class 2.5 days in a week. So I have 4.5 days doing nothing. I went to a place called Dagoretkona, which was not very far from there. I met some Juakali guys. I asked them whether they would give me space. I said, Karibu. Lugo was saying, Misungu yawa, come. So some classmate of mine, Rogoni, unfortunately he died. He died in a plane crash. Was working for Kenya Airways. Then he made me ask, what are you doing? I told him, no, I'm a carpenter here. I'm school. He had known I was going to school. And then he told me, do me a wall unit. I made him a beautiful wall unit. Then he told me, we can't let this go. I have some small money. Can we start business together? I told him, yeah. Small money that we were able to hire a place for ourselves. And we started now making furniture for people. This furniture, to get the price, by good luck, is that in my classes I was taking cost accounting as a subject. So to cost account will help you be able to reach at a price. This is part of what I'll have to talk to you about. So I was good at it. Then I would I'm the first person to make and display furniture in Ngong Road. If you've gone to Ngong Road now from the Great Corner all the way to Lenana, there is furniture displayed outside. I started it myself in the Great Corner. But I was making, since we didn't have much money, I was making cheap furniture in terms of furniture from Cyprus, making outdoor, specializing in outdoor furniture. And since people who live in Karen pass through there, I'd seen that market. I'd actually visualized, because I know these people who live in big areas, they love to have a day bed, to have outdoor furniture, and somehow it picked. A majority of them were whites, and every time they would come and they would wonder, is this man part of us, or what is it? So they gave me the business. Within a very short time, I had a staff of 10. I don't know if I went from 10 to 20. I expanded. I didn't have machines. I had to look for power to be brought in, and I kept growing the business. A business has got to be like a seed that you put it down there with a mbolea, and you've got to weed it and grow it. So we grew the business, and that time I was going to charge fast service so that I would be able to come to my workshop early. So I went to a church called Gospel Outreach. There was a bishop called Bishop Mrima. And I would, Sundays go to church and I spotted a lady there who eventually is my wife for the last 30, I'm now married 35 years. Yeah. I thought initially I would sit next to her. I thought she was a schoolgirl. And then I was fearing to go back to prison again for defiling, Somehow, we didn't talk much. I just spotted her one time. She was also going to school. Me, I would shuffle from school to do my work. And one time we met at the bus stop and we were going the same direction. And this is the time I was able to know about her. Kumbe she was working, and she was working in a bank. So became Rosie, and eventually we got married. And we have 4 beautiful children. Our firstborn is 34 years old, and has a son. He's schooled in Japan and is a specialist in biometrics. He is introduced into the country facial recognition technology. He works for a company of Japan. Then I have a daughter she's called Chiptor, and she's married and has a daughter, and she works for KPMG, an audit firm, but she works on international relations. There is a fund that has been given to that company by MasterCard, and requires a person who's qualified in international development. She has a master's from Oregon, United States. She's here. Then I have two other kids who live in Canada. One is employed by the Canadian government. She did IT, just like the brother, did masters, got employed by the Canadian government. I have my last one who's doing engineering, construction, and is about to finish. So I was giving you the history of the mama who got me those beautiful children. And eventually, I'm sure most people asking then, how did you go back to how did you get into matatu business? In 1990, we had a very bad recession. A terrible recession that people could not buy. I had over 20 workers, about 25 or something like that. And I had to lay some of them off. Even after laying some of them off, I was getting to eat into the capital that I had now built. And also my partner, we were having discomfort because he's employed and he's still getting his salary. He's asking me why there are no jobs. So kind of, I think the best thing is to close this business. At that time I was doing interior design also, and even landscaping. And so in 1992 towards the end, I decided I was going to get out of furniture business. And I left my partner there doing it. I told him to continue because I think I was thinking I should venture. And unfortunately, after I got married, I was faced with an ailment that almost put me down. I had a kidney problem. I had a tumor growing on my kidney. A tumor that it puts your pressure so much up. But by good luck, they were able to work on me. And I survived miraculously. So I didn't want to, I say the stress now that we're having, because I decided, no, I'm going to do something else. And that time I looked around, I said, what other business can I go into? People are not buying, they can buy food and they have to travel. Now, traveling does not require a lot of experience. So I decided I was going to buy a matatu. I told my wife this one. I bought my first matatu. It was 350,000 and I had 200,000. So I kept 50,000. I asked for 200,000 from the bank. Then it was terrible. We were paying at 45% interest rate. Somehow, I said, since I'm not doing anything, I will sit inside there and become a driver. My wife protested. I told her, don't worry. Sweetheart, don't worry. And I went into it. I remember having difficulty with, then mungekis and those cartels were there. So they were asking for money to allow me to do the business. I said, how? And then I give you money in every trip? I calculated, I said, no. The military in me now popped up. And it had to make me go physical to be feared. And you can imagine what it means to be physical. And they say this man, somebody told them this man was in the military and he was trained to kill with using his hands. I say, yeah, that's better. I did my business, I repaid my loan, I bought a second car. Before I bought the second car, the other people asked me, help us, these people are finishing our money. I mean, you've allowed them, you own your business. When you do your business, own it. They say, no, we want you to help us. I said, I only have one car and I cannot allow a driver to drive it for me. So they told me, you'll pack it and we'll pay you. I told them, correct. And I told them, not even when, we'll start tomorrow. For those who are cowards, stay at home, don't come. And for those who feel we can handle these boys, be it physically, come, put on clothes that are a bit light. So you can, when you kick somebody, then we took over the business. And it was a notorious route called Kangemi, where Wakinyonga, I don't know where you people heard about Wakinyonga and so forth. Yeah, that's their home. And I went there and became the king immediately. I told the boys, hey, you, get out. We put in a system. For those who want to employ, bring your application. It was the first route in Nairobi in 1991 to be taken over by us, owners, and organized it. I formed a small interest. We save. Put in 50 shillings per day from your car. And 20 shillings because we need an office per day. This thing grew to be a big microfinance that financed people to buy buses. And went on like that. And then every route in Nairobi invited me to give them a lead, give them tips on how to take over. And that's exactly how we got rid of Mungiki. They would cry that they're going to come for my head. I'll tell them, come. I'm just right here. If you cut me and blood comes out, I don't know when I cut you, what will come out? Milk. So it's very interesting, and that's how I formed the association. This association was an advocacy body that would make investors, because now investment vehicles started becoming expensive and so forth. In the middle there, after I gave them lead, there was a liberalization of the economy. It should have been in 1996, 95, 96, 97 there. I decided, I told my wife, we take some small loan. I went to Dubai. That time you go into a plane, fly to Dubai, at the port of entry, you're given a visa. And Dubai was a desert. There was totally nothing. I went and I bought myself 2 vans and I got some guys to bring it, to ship it to Kenya. Everybody said, hey, chairman. Then I was the chairman of a local Kangemi Matatus, and I told them, now you have to take advantage of your members. You've got to make some money. You want a vehicle? Yeah. I'll dakuletea. You'll lipia duty. So every vehicle I was loading $500. And I was going to, after 2 weeks, I would just get 10 vehicles. I have my $5,000. I would buy 2 vehicles without paying. Yeah, that's how I grew myself. Got an advantage, and then got into business. Ensure that you've talked about motivation of workers. People used to think I was importing my workers from heaven. But somehow it's because I'll talk to them, we sit, we share a meal, and they're able to work for you. And that journey in Matatu became, I formed the association. The association, I tried forming in Moi's time. It was denied. Of course, when you apply to register this, it goes to special branch, CID. They say this guy is a rebel, don't allow him. He will hold you at ransom. So when Kibaki took over, is when I formed the association. I was registered, and I had members. And my ambition now was to have a bank and to have an insurance company. I mobilized my members, and some of course were very positive, some were negative, and we were able to start with the insurance company. Unfortunately, the government did not give us. They told us you're not registering any more PSV underwriters. What we'll do now is look for one which is dead, give it oxygen, and revive it. And that's exactly what I did. I got Invesco Assurance. I don't know whether any of you know Invesco Assurance. And the books, because the owners had chewed money, we didn't have proper due diligence to be done. Unfortunately, we were able to revive it, and it became a big insurance company taking care of my members. I took advantage of that. It's still there, though it's been ailing because of historical. When you take up old company, you'll carry the liabilities that were there in the other company. The government had told us it was 500 million. We said we can be able to do that. Unfortunately, we paid 3.5 billion. So it really dragged us back. I've been trying to put this argument to the CS Finance. But they're trying to be evasive. And I was thinking the last resort would be court, probably, because they are the ones who lied to me, because there were no documentation. The servers had been taken, but they had a statutory manager they had appointed who gave us these figures. So there we are. That's the history of that. And when Michuki rules, brought in speed governance, I said, now I have to take advantage and be also a seller of speed governance. I traveled abroad. I went to India and gave out specifications of doing the KEBS, Bureau of Standards approved it. Then I supplied my members. People were importing them from China and other countries, were making a kill. They were selling one gadget for 40,000. I was selling mine for 25, and I was still making over 100% profit. So that's, when I look at you and look at a person like him, if he's in a position to say there's work to be done here and your colleagues could be doing it, take advantage for your colleagues to be able to ring fence that particular interest and do it the right way. Nothing today can be done by taking shortcuts. So that's a small history about myself. And when I last year, I've been wanting to resign when I got to 60. Not to resign, but actually to retire. And my members could let me go. And what I did was I forcefully resigned. I gave them 1 year to get somebody to take over from me. And I even relocated and came back home. And of course, it was a very difficult decision. And there are companies that have put up, bus companies. I don't know whether you know Starbucks. Starbucks is a company that does Wayakiwe. It's blue, yellow, and white, the star. That's my company. And I had a company called Compliant. It was doing Gong and Islay. That one I sold. I cannot run the business now, but we have systems. That one was individually mine, but this one we had directors, about 5 of us. And I'm telling you, to be very honest, if you want to get into partnership, don't go with your clansman. Don't go. I've lived in an area where we have all the societies we have in Kenya, and my directors are all Kikuyus. And you know what they do? They account to the last cent. Yeah, they cannot con you, they cannot do anything. That's the experience I do have. But I wouldn't encourage anybody to go into partnership because it's a big company. So we had to grow it with friends. So that's what I do. But I decided to invest back home by putting up apartments, which does not require a lot of management. Me, I sit in the house and I click into my laptop, and I'm able to see the transactions of rent collection from the deposit, and the moment it's put in by the bank, it tells me in my house so and so has paid. So I'm able to monitor, and that is what the advantage I took was that there were no proper housing in Kericho when I started building. How many of you know Riverside Apartments? Yeah, those are my first investments. I have some called Golan. No. It's, in fact, I used to, at one time there were Finlay's people who were living there in management. It's on, how do I say it? The Kenyatta University, or the mall, you go down. Yeah, and some called Golan Heights, which is not far from the hotel. So that summarizes Kimutai's story. So we go back now into entrepreneurship. I know everybody would want to be a business person. There's a beautiful thing, but it's painful. There's a journey that one has to start if one is interested. And a journey to entrepreneurship. Nobody can be born to become a business person unless you're You're inheriting what was existing, probably from the family. But if you are a startup, of course, first you have to be employed. It's not like our time where you would go to a corner and hit some furniture and be able to make some small money. It has to start from unemployment where you have a salary. And there is a culture that will give your journey from being employed to doing business. And this culture is a culture where you've got to have your seeds that you'll be able to plant at one time. Means a culture of savings. If you cannot save some percentage of your salary, and even if your mother comes and tells you how much ningependa kusaidia mwambie you don't break it. So if it's a percentage, it has to be there persistently, and you have to have a different account for it. And then as you grow the same, this is now growing capital. There is nobody today, I'm telling you to be very honest, who will go to a bank and ask for loan to do business and succeed. If you don't have your seed, your own savings, you will not get anything. I'm telling you, if loans were making people rich, everybody would have gone for a loan and become rich. So you must have your seed money to be able to propel yourself now. In fact, even the bank will ask you want to do this, what business you want to do? There are questionnaires that will come in, and they look at your income. They'll not be able, whatever collateral you'll take, but that shamba can easily go if you're given out to shamba. So the first step in putting a mindset of doing business is having to have a savings, and when it gets to a certain amount, you put it to a fixed deposit, or initially it's fixed deposit. I don't want you to say, let me buy shares in areas. At times it plunges down and you might not be able to get value for your money. So the best thing would be have a savings. If you have 50,000 or 100,000, tell the bank, please put it for me and into a fixed deposit. You'll get a better interest rate, and it will block you from going into it. You say, I want to have it for 1 year, and then you cannot reach it. So this will make you save the money. So I know there are challenges, because when you work in a family, there are those who are disadvantaged, who would want you to help them pay fees, do that. It's there. I pay fees up to now. And so much, not kidogo, a lot of it. And people will not work hard to take over from you. The moment you start paying fees for a child, you have to take that child. It fits all the way to the university. That's our culture, especially Kalenjin people. We have that problem. You have land. Let me surprise you. People from Central Province, if a person has 2 acres, they will never beg for anything. Ask Kipsigis people. You will have 10 acres, and you'll not even be able to take your child to primary school. Yeah. And when you have 1 acre of tea, you have some chest. This is a terrible attitude that needs to be gotten rid of, and people to be taught land use, utilization, because unlike before, when I was growing, I think I must have been, maybe standard 1, 2, 3, we used to have agricultural officers who would advise farmers. I don't know where they disappeared to. And the government has got to enact on that. Today, Kericho, you go to the market, from sukuma wiki, cabbage, nyanya, vitungu, where do you get them from? From Molo, going that way. It is Njuguna, Kamau, and Wambui who are who are actually benefiting. And yet we have a better soil and a better climate. and priorities. We want to put in maize. How much when you do cost accounting? Sit down and calculate. You tilt the land, you plow the second time, you buy seeds, you buy fertilizer, you have people to plant, you have people to weed, then eventually you harvest, then you sell. I would want, if a person is intending to do farming, keep your records. Put in every penny. Even this, even if it's your children who are plowing, let them, that is labor. It's money. If you didn't have children, you'd have paid. So you have to put that cost. So to understand where you're going. And you'll find yourself either going in circles or going at a loss. So to go back to our subject is that now that probably you have saved some money. And the only problem is we are not innovative. We want to replicate what other people are doing. And yet you don't understand the business. So you must identify what you want to do. And you must carry out a feasibility study. Is it viable? If a person analeta mtumba, analeta anatoka hapa anaenda Nairobi, anaenda na bus pesa fulani, you got to consider every cash that goes towards this business. So if you identify and find that you do cost accounting after you've done a feasibility study, then you know that I bought, if it's buying and selling, that I bought this item and I've sold it for certain. And you remember this, your money here is capital. If you don't sell, what does it tell you? It tells you that you're eating into your capital, because the interest even which the bank would have given you is there. So in identifying what you're going to do, there are different levels now of investments. There's a person who has 100,000. There's a person who has 1 million. There's another person 12 million. There are different levels of investments. So it has got to bring in different thinking. Kericho is not an enterprising town. Do you know that Kericho is almost dead in business? And you people, the Kalenjin people, do you know you own only 25% of business in Kericho? Do you know that? Look at it. Kericho is for, I'm not a tribalist, but I'm just trying to tell you, let's match them. I never believe in tribalism, but where will you claim your stake? So I want you to have this in mind. Electronics in Kericho, hardware in Kericho, even clothes selling in Kericho. The only thing that you can find at Kipsige's man is a small shop. We fear risking. I want to thank God for Chief Setion. He was a good friend of mine. Chief Setion worked with my mom in the district hospital, and he was a shamba boy. But he had an entrepreneur mind, because I remember when I was going to class 1, he used to sembera maua, kata nyasi, wash clothes za wafanyikazi ya nini ya wagonjwa. And you know, in the late afternoon alikuwa anapika mandazi anauza on the roadside. That's Chief Setion. And he never feared to invest. He was a very trusted person. If you ask Surya, the owner of Kipsige's traders, he'll tell you that was a great man. And do you know where he is now? In terms of, with his absence, okay, but the structures he put in place and systems, these are forces to reckon with. So, in identifying what you want to do, and you go into it, if it's not making profits, don't hold it to it. Jesus will not come and tell you, give you a way out. No. You will burn and burn and burn and go away. You'll never see a Muhindi who will put up a shop and does not sell and he clings up. For us, we keep hoping. Hope is very good, but somehow it's dangerous to business. You can't hope that miracles will happen. No. It's got to be, it's either profit making or it's loss making. I want to give you, when we talk of different levels of doing business, I told you I've had experience of doing business in Dubai. And the people who work there, the laborers, are from India and Pakistan. Chego egari isieko na beba gunia mwingi wawili kuita ingiteruri. Yange kwa barongo ngo ringojo lakini ngo mio lingo chenga capital. They actually work very hard to look for capital. And they will do what? They will reduce their lifestyle. Kabarech, what kills business people is lifestyle. You wake up in the morning, you have a wholesale shop or you have a beautiful shop, you put in 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 10 million. You wake up in the morning, first thing that you do is you look for a beautiful girl and she'll be at the till. That's men. That's us. That's our nature. And then you even come late. There's a supervisor who's opening the shop for you. And one surprising thing, at 10 o'clock, you go to Sunshine and ask for 2 sausages, mbili, a chai. You spend about how much? How much is that? About let's say even 300. No, for himself alone, 300, 400. At lunch hour, you call a friend, Imiano. Yongia blanche. Unapigia mtu ya butchery, weka kilo moja. By end of the day, jioni ukitoka nasema nikamate mbili kabla sijaenda nyumbani. You've done away with 2,000 shillings. Can you multiply 2,000 by 365 days? This money you have thrown. Is it 720? 730? 730,000 you've thrown it into the pit. And you don't realize that. A Muhindi will come in. Akikuja amebeba thermos. Ako na kikapu. Na hapa kwa till ni yeye, mtoto yake ama bibi. There's no pilferage. When you are careless, somebody will easily take your money and they say you don't mind because you are not even doing stock taking. Yeah. So you'll find that by end of 1 year, you've lost, if not 1.2 million, 1.3. The Muhindi will come 10 o'clock anakunywa chai yake amebeba na thermos. Ikifika lunch off, anaambia watu tokeni, anafunga mlango, anaenda hapo juu pale anaishi. Akimaliza, he comes down, opens the shop, and when people are going, they are searched. That's business. You don't want anybody to steal. But we've opened a window for waste. So there's a big challenge in especially doing business where cash and carry is there. So I was talking about doing business. The Muhindi goes to Dubai and does savings. And he'll eventually end up being a shopkeeper, a small shopkeeper in Nairobi. And within a very short time, he's a big Muhindi, a big business person. I'm citing Asians because they are shrewd. The richest people in the world are Asians. Muhindi. Do you know Muhindi can have 3 shirts and 3 trousers? Huko na wardrobe yako iko na mashati karibu 20. Na hata trouser avai ingine, you don't need them. So you're spending there. So the Muhindi will come all the way, he will look for ways of becoming, and the government wants people who are investing. That time maybe you said 4 million, 5 million. And you'll be allowed to come into Kenya to bring this money because you'll create a job. We are able to do the same, but unfortunately we lose it. So for a person to succeed in whatever level of business that you have chosen, number one is discipline. Number one, discipline on money and expenses. Number two is ensuring that the products that you're selling, because mostly businesses, products sell and buy, they must be priced right price. Unasema ndugu yangu ulikuwa unaweka unga, ukienda kuuza, sasa unatumia ukora ingine. What was difficult in raising the price? You know, one thing that kills businesses is a war of pricing. I don't know whether you know that. If today unauza debe moja hapa ya mahindi, mwingine anauza hapo, kulu ndo mahali na jujuju 50. No, you know, the market will be laughing at you because they'll wait for you and you'll bring it down. When we were doing matatu, that's the first thing that I killed in my area. No competition on pricing. We do calculation, cost accounting. We know this is what we deserve. If you want to travel, if you don't want, the price is one. So you'll sit there, alafu ngoja mwingine anakuambia kumi. I killed that in my route, and we were able to be successful. A tout will want to give you passengers to get his commission, even if it is 2 shillings. Amejaza gari, nipe yangu. So these are things now that we involve ourselves in by allowing other people to come and dictate our prices. Pricing in any business, in whatever business you're doing, very important. And to get into a price, we at times forget that you're the managing director of this business. You don't give yourself a salary so that you can be able to cost account. When you're cost accounting, you factor in that Kimutai, I'll need maybe this kind of salary. You break it down and then distribute it to the items that you're selling as a salary. Overheads and other costs that are hidden. In doing business, there's so many costs that are hidden. Very many. But you have to bring it forth. If you don't, you'll do business that does not benefit you. It's true, because you were not following those business formulas to get your price. So today, very many people, you see in Kericho, when people started doing, some people bought mitumba. Everybody rushed there. Have you seen Asians today? They moved away from all those business that we rushed to. Now they are selling machinery and selling hardware. That's a level they have reached. They run away where you come and crowd. You know, the biggest problem is, at one time people are saying, where are we going to sell the eggs? Oh, because we've done this. And then somebody will tell me, you have 2 acres, you're going to be, so you know, it's very important to have a caucus, a discussion that probably will make you give ideas. Why can the county today say, pandeni mboga kila mtu, tuko na lori mbili, kama market iko Kisumu, tunamwaga hiyo chakula Kisumu. That relieves you from this issue of marketing. You know, you say, now I have this product, how do I sell it? So it's wide. There must be participation from consumption to, you know, supply, this kind of thing. But apparently we keep quiet. And then we let our people here steal from us, and we are keeping quiet, clapping for them when they are in rallies. What has made us to be like this? People are stealing. You see somebody was your classmate, and because he's a contractor, he's building a 10 million shillings house. You wonder. You went to school, you are beating him in school, now you are working and you cannot even build a 2 million shillings house. People must come out of this. They must shout. I remember telling the governor He kept coming to my house, and I financed him. I thought he was going to be an angel. Little did I know that I was going to put in my money to the wrong place. I don't regret, because I gave it out willingly. Anything that we do, integrity must surround us. But anyway, that's a subject that requires a serious discussion some other time. We go back to business. If we are having, for instance, maybe people would want to go into farming. You know, we have middlemen. They don't add much value, and they are the ones who are benefiting. Why don't we find a way of doing this business? We become our own middlemen, and we deliver the product at a good price. There are products today that we can add value. And it requires only a group of few people who can think of, for instance, making yogurt. And you have milk. If you're having 20 liters of milk every day and you convert it into yogurt, which never goes bad, you can make profits. Have your label, register it the way it's supposed to be done, and encourage our people to have the same. Branding is what makes us think, oh, this thing from Delamere is better than something that could have come from Gablutier. No. It's the same product by the end of the day. It's only that they have succeeded in branding and make colonizing our minds that this thing is hii inatoka pandile ni mzuri kushinda ile inatoka pandile. Agochiega tu. So when we go into other areas of business, we can value add. And when we add value, that gives us better pricing or better revenues. And as I had earlier on said, I don't know, me is just to give you a general talk. I don't know what you'd want to go into. One thing that I'll tell you today, be careful in getting into any business unless you have carried out feasibility study, so that when you put in value, you must have value for that money. When you put in cash, revenues, there must be value. I've been in transport, and today I'll tell you, I'll be very shy to tell you go and buy a minibus which is costing 6.6 million, and its depreciation rate is very high, about 30% per annum. Will you have made money getting back what you have plowed in, and also get back your capital? Capital should always either grow or remain static. That capital, for you to do in that business, that capital, every time you need to do stock taking to know, beyond 2 million, do I have anything below 2 million? Then you ask yourself, where has it gone? And now you have to change the tact of doing the business. Because capital is an injection, which is supposed to be there and grow. Because when you sell and you make profits, you buy more. Anytime when you put in 5 million, for instance, and when you stock take and find that you have 7 million, no, you're doing the right thing. What you just need to do is now to keep growing it. There is no business that will grow by itself. The investor has got to put in manure and all that it takes for the business to grow. So it's very, very important that any person who thinks business, I've had, who was this word? Where is he? A gentleman. He tried Unga, he went back to employment, he came out again, he went back. Because of what? There is that fear that what will I do, supposing it fails completely and there's somebody offering me a job. But business is about risk taking. You don't have to fear. If you have identified what you want to do and you have carried out a good study that there is profit, don't go nusu-nusu. You will run away and you will not make anything. And that capital that you had will sink. So it's very, very important that we have to think about those elements, that your capital should not dwindle. Your capital should grow. And it's just like anything that when you plant a maize, when you put seeds, you've got to give it all it takes to grow. So that is how business is. And one and very important element in business is that you don't that's sustaining of your lifestyle. You want to drive a vehicle, a gasoline, and you want the business to put fuel for you and to maintain it and to pay insurance. So if you want to study a business that's doing you good, your costs of surviving should be either from where you used to get the others or keep something there that you'll be using to understand this business, the growth of the business. Otherwise, you'll put in and you'll be seeing them, but the moment you'll start seeing your shelves empty, you wonder why. Number two is an issue of trusting the person who sits in the till. You'll wonder, any moment you see a worker with a shoe worth 6,000 and his salary is 6,000, you wonder where he got the 6,000 to buy the shoe. So those things, pilferage should be completely gotten rid of, and you should be able to build walls that cannot seep out, that cannot allow anything to go out. Now, before I ask for any questions, I want to ask you, any person who has seen a politician whose life has ended smoothly in Kirisho from 1964 of independence? Tell me of a politician, one even, whose life has gone like that. It normally goes like this, and then there's a sharp drop. I'm just trying to say, if you are a business person, close your door to politics. I'm just citing a few examples that's practical. They are practical. The moment you... Let me give you another story of Ayub Chepkwony. I was with Ken Biagon Mutai. That time he had his wholesale shop here. And then Ayub comes in. He was working with oxygen. Then he had called him earlier on to ask for some money. So Ken gave him 10,000. The moment he was stepping out, he was giving brokers. You are sick. Brokers are telling him, so what I'm telling you is that business and politics will never go one way. You get me? So if you're a politician and you want to be a politician, you have to separate the two. You let your wife be the CEO of business, and you be given a salary by your wife. Now ukae huko. Hiyo salary kisha huko na watu wako huko, ukae huko tu. Because you'll bring down all these things. We've seen people who have brought down their lives because they have involved themselves in politics. So when you're doing business, purely business. And business, there must be lots of integrity. Mogor natet, ukiweka kwa biashara, you go. But if you do your business in a good way, then I think, and you're gaining, you'll have nowhere to stop. So let me stop there. Let me invite some few questions. Thank you. When you are producer of a product and you want certification from KEBS, of course there's a process. And one should not give up because this process is long. And today, if I'm sure it doesn't, of course they've got to test your product if it meets the standards. But I think as we talk in SMEs, for instance, we have to have, first you've got to build your base to be able to tackle such things. Because if you're credible and you have taken this product, there's no way somebody will discourage you unless somebody wants to have money. I know we have a very bad culture in the country where any service costs. But let me tell you, it will just take us to remove that thing. Where somebody says, kitu kidogo. Me, I stop on the road and tell policemen, why have you taken that money? I'm not an askari, but I ask them, why? If all of us took that bold step by refusing to bribe, It's just a culture change. If we allow it, it will eat us and eat us and eat us. So, about getting that, if you get discouraged from an office, there is a hierarchy in those offices. You go inside there. You don't have to be a big man. You just need to be a Kenyan who will agitate for that service by, you don't know me, in some offices, I don't need to know anybody. You will go here, you get discouraged, you feel that somebody is oppressing you, go to the next office. They will say, it's because you will be persisting for your rights. And that one, don't give up. In business, if you give up, then that's it. You're done. And ask, get people who've been through it. Come and present, I'm trying to get myself a living. So you got to have that bold step and be able to move into those offices without fear. Nobody should intimidate you. About the issue of taxes, when you are doing cost accounting, you factor in tax. You don't say they're coming to eat my money. No. If it's VAT and the other taxes which are required, do you know? Many people don't know that we pay a lot of taxes without knowing. And this is what I was saying one time. The government should put all these taxes they're following us into products that they are, so that when I sell, they've already made their money from the word go. So the price of that thing is determined. So in the end, you're not again belabored by doing returns to pay your taxes. But you'll do returns to pay your taxes, and only taxes are paid on profits. Unless you don't have a good accountant who would not be able to say, this is your investment, these are your profits, and this is what is taxable. Not all the revenues you've collected are taxable. You'd have made losses. And when you make losses, declare it in the books. Simple. So what you need is that when we are doing business, we also need advice from accountants. People who will tell you that, they'll do books, you made negative 50,000. The government will not tell you pay for what? What is taxable is what is the profit, not your capital. I wish you had put that question when you were starting this organization. What is common? So that probably, if you had said we pull, when I started Matatu, I told everybody 50 bob from each car. Then I went to 100. And at the end of the year, there's so much money that time. Now people are putting 1,000 every day. And by the end of the year, you declare back to them. It's just something common that when a policeman is eating 100, you eat 1,000. Or 200 policemen by the end of the day, maybe they. So what I would say here is that in starting any grouping, there must be something common, a pooling system. We say every member to pay 500 shillings a month. You see, 500 shillings a month in 1 year is how much? 6,000. If you're 100, 6,000 times 1,000? 6,000 times 7,000. Hata mkija hapo naambia watu watarudi na dividend. Kila mtu pesa fulani. You can as well, you can put in this money. The reasons why you have financial institutions is because of people grouping themselves. When people group themselves, I told you when I was starting a microfinance, we were saying these banks, how much money do they have? What is the capital of starting a bank? So small. They'll end up lending 10 times what they have. But it's your money, his and the other person. Even your money, they'll go and lend you your money. And you'll pay an interest. So in groupings, I empowered MOA until one time the president even would look for me. I was receiving phone calls from Muru. Every time, come Simon, where are you? He knows one thing, when you group yourselves, people like you. And the group, for me, it's mass. So they want numbers. Politicians, when there is numbers, they look for you. And when you're credible, even financial institutions will look for you. So here, I can see maybe, how many members do you have?
109.
How many millions do you have in your bank account?
0.
How many times have you gone into a hotel and because you've gone to town, you feel like life will not be complete before me going to have coffee in Java. In a month, you waste maybe 5,000 shillings or even 2,000. And yet here, where there is this grouping, you have nothing. So I formed the association by members paying subscription. And then there is also members doing savings. That's their money. And it takes one to tango. I'm telling you, if you have 100 people, why do you think Imarisha is so successful? Why do you think these other circles are very successful? Why? Because there's money flowing in. Here you can put in and start a small way of doing microfinance, just kind of merry-go-round or anything for yourselves. But this is going to have tight regulations. That we will, before you even register, when you go to SACCOs, you better register a company. SACCOs will give you the borrowing power, they will give you many restrictions, you'll find that your books needs to be audited, or there's going to be an officer who needs to come. I think the best thing is to look at what brings you together. Here, like now, you've invited me to give you a talk. A talk about what? Money. Where is the money? In the first place, the organization does not have money. So
we have the numbers.
No, you have the numbers. Translate that number into an issue of money. Yeah. I hope I've answered you. There are many opportunities of doing business. You see, if you had, how much did you say it was? 600? 1 million. Right now, you know how much it is interest? 14%. If you have 10 million, you have 1.4 million shillings lying waiting for you. You get me? And there are many other ways of, if you go to Britain, for instance, they have some products that they do sell. They invest your money and they give you a fixed, if it is 15%, 20%, depending on how much you give. These are credible companies which they cannot sync with your money. That's where to put in money now, especially if you don't have strength to do some business which it's cash and carry, money comes in. Naambioga pale pesa iko, shetani anakaribiaga hapo, amekaa na amesimama vizuri sana hapo. Pale kuna pesa. So I don't know what your next question was.
That's all. I was just doing a question for the group.
Yes.
If we do 1,000, it will be like 100,000 per month.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, how much we have. And we put in the board class in Britain at 14%.
Yeah.
Those are in-house. One, I would want to encourage you, just 1 minute, don't close other people out. Know the strengths of your members.
Sure.
So you've got to know that for you to be able to have the numbers that will never dwindle, that everybody is able to do that. 1,000 is a very good number. Supposing people are saying, no, we want 2,000. So I think the idea, you will have it internally, discuss it, and be able to know. And where the issues of organizations, number one is discipline of that money. That money has got to be accounted for. I go to Nairobi every first week of the month. I go there, what I listen to? Just finance. Sit there and discuss finance. With those Kikuyu friends of mine, we sit. There is an accountant. Issue of finance. You ask questions. And you see, when you see you're growing, you come back smiling. And groups, at times, maybe what I wanted to say, when you have the muscle and you want to invest good money, go into real estate. The population are growing. Migration from rural areas to urban setups is growing. People want housing, and people fear. I was discussing the other day with my wife. I was telling her, I have a project which will cost me 100 million, and it's housing. She was telling me, how about this affordable housing? Affordable housing, maybe people who want to go and live in affordable housing are not the class that live in certain houses. You cannot be having a house where you're paying 20,000, and you want to go and live in a house that probably, if you are renting, you'll pay 6,000. because also quality matters. So real estate is where people can invest. It requires less supervision and zero maintenance. If not 1% maintenance. Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing the story and taking us through this session. My question is the phases of business. How do you tell a business is going in the right direction? Because you might start a business and within 6 months you wind up the business thinking that it's not doing any time. How do you
measure
the phases of business? Maybe the phase 1 can take you maybe some years.
As I said,
so that you answer about it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm David Juliot. I was also supposed to ask almost the same similar question. That after how long does the business break even? And maybe if there is some signs that shows that maybe you are in the right direction. Maybe you don't close up yet, as he had mentioned, but you still struggling and say, okay, maybe it could break even anytime.
Well, a business, for instance, let me take a small one. I have stocks on my shelves worth 1 million. One principle is that these stocks should not go below 1 million. You have overheads, you have maybe rents, and many other things. There are costs that involve even the stocking. And it's an issue of mathematics. There is no time 1 plus 1 will be 3 or will be negative 1. 1 plus 1 will always be 2. So it's arithmetics, adding up the businesses that you're doing. This will definitely tell you, of course, there is a period, a gap, that when you go into your business, for the first 6 months you may not make money. But what is very important, for the first 6 months, let the business run itself. Don't allow it to start eating into your capital. The moment you allow it eating into your capital, by end of 1 year, you have no stocks. So a period, normally a window, is that when you're starting a business, you must be down with a pen all the time to see whether am I, a simple way of controlling your business is to have what we call beanstalk card. That is the simplest. Today there are computers, you may not be able to put in a computer. What you have is a beanstalk card. If there are items that are on the shelves or in the store, you struck them off charge. So that when you pull in a card, probably a card that you have these remote controls, it will tell you, when you sell one, you struck it off charge, and at the end of it, you know what your balances are for purposes of stock control. Then you will be able to get into your stock taking very easily, because you have cards that identify your items you're selling and tells you the numbers of what you've sold and what you have. So it's a control card. So it's very important to know how much you have, what is it worth, and how much have you sold. It will even tell you whether there is pilferage, because this beanstalk card, you can check it against the sales book where you write receipts. You know that I've received this money. And at the same time, this money you have to know by having a banking slip, that you know that I've sold this, and this is what I've sold, and the money is in the bank. There is nowhere else where this money is safe apart from the bank, not in your pocket. I've told you your lifestyles. You know, when you have money, you feel you're itching, and you don't know this money is not yours now, it's a business money. The money what is yours is what you can make in terms of profit. But also you have to take in the fact that this capital must grow. So we must have that control. So a business will show the signs. The moment you see your shelves are empty, you don't have a bank account money, you don't have money anywhere, that's a yellow card. And you cannot cling after 1 year to a business that's loss making. It was a given together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimutai. It has been very informative. My question is, if I heard you well, you were able to maneuver and procure some of your business items from Dubai. Over the recent past, scanning the environment, and I realized that I've been training my students in industrial chemical processes and mineral processing. So I realized in our environment we have a lot of minerals, and in the process of procuring one product from China, that's a furnace, I realized that the custom was a problem. The price of that item in China was so cheap, and when it came out to the custom, I was put I have the raw material and I have the market. So I was thinking now about how did you maneuver this thing, because it's down for the last 1 year trying to procure this item. And in the line of real estate, as you have said, we were in field days, and I think most of these members are members of the housing project. This project is actually for the last 15 years, giving us 160 shillings. I was seeing that real estate and this one, how can you...
Okay. Now, about, there is no this maneuvering. Everything has got to be straight. It depends on how you walk. When you import a product, the government has its way of taxing. And what you need to do, if it's, I don't know whether it's a prohibited import or it is genuinely something that you come to use. And if it is duty, and the government has put in its formula of taxation, I wouldn't advise you to go and hunger somebody to, I told you, me hungering, it was not there from the word go. I got this from the military. So what you need to do is either to get the ministry concerned so that they can probably either partially waive the duty on these products. If it is something that's going to be creating jobs, you need to use your member of parliament for them to be able to, get to these officers. Now these issues, I saw the other day, people were bringing in, not actually it's NGOs, who are bringing in health machinery. And they were being told to, and they are donating that you pay duty. It's madness. So this requires a way of lobbying so that it can be let go. And if duty has to be paid, it must be paid. And then now you will factor in the cost when you are selling your products. I know there is that discouragement of you're buying this machinery very expensive. Expensive ikifika hapa pia itoe hiyo expensiveness yake. The other question was on housing. This housing is very expensive. And if you went and probably your money was, and you get 160 shillings, I'd rather you'd have bought anywhere, even here yourself, and bought a piece of land and put in mabati houses, and it will still give you. So when I talk of housing, there are different levels. There are those levels that probably are too high, and there are those, if you try to heave, you'll get tired heaving. So you go according to what you are or what you have. That is finance. And during our time of going to Dubai, so many things had not been introduced. They just liberalized the economy, and many things had not been introduced. So that time was that time. So it was just a window that was there. Unfortunately, the window is closed. So we've got to go through the door, and this door is a bit expensive. So, if we think of getting into import, is a bit different level. If you don't import volume, then you will not be making any sense in business. It's got to be volume and big volumes. So for now, for things like machines, if you're finding it difficult, you can approach any people who import machinery and negotiate with them. They could be having better deals in terms of paying duty. But if you are going to buy one and import one, it will be too costly for you. If you need to have a container, for instance, you cannot take half and use quarter of the container, the other place is empty. What you need to do is to open your mind a bit, get to know who imports what. I think...
I'm told one burning question. Margaret.
Okay. Nashukuru kwa sababu wamama pia hawajasimama. Wacha nisimame kwa niaba yao niulize swali moja ama mawili hivi. Kwanza kabisa, I can see God touching you to touch needy people in the society. Mlikuwa umeanza kusema kwamba you're supporting needy students. So I was just asking this question. In case there is a needy student somewhere, will you all raise your hand to support people like that, or just because?
I think I have much in my plate already. Yeah. You're the first people to come to you is your relatives. And you could be seeing bright children, and you cannot just let them go. And of course, I don't have an NGO that I probably can put in funds. It's just my fund probably that I've formed there with my wife so that we can be able to help those who are needy. But not all. Hapa Kenya hii ukifungua mlango saa hii hapa next day unatembea hapa bila nguo hata. Watakuwa wamekumaliza. So what we do is, what I was just trying to say is that God's hands will come in. When you bless somebody in a small way, kidogo tu, inakuwa mzuri. Hata nyinyi msifikiria hapa tunataka kufanya biashara, we cannot help. No. We should continue helping. That's how God will come in and bless you in any way. Yeah. So unfortunately, right now I think I have over 15 students, and it's very expensive. Yeah.
Thank you so much.